Welcome to my guide to making your own Beekeeper's Picnic paper dolls. Just a note before we begin, don't worry if you don't have all of the equipment that I have or don't want to take all the steps that I take, that's fine. I'm just showing you the way that I like to do it. The first thing you'll have to decide is what paper to use. I quite like using this glossy photo paper. It's quite thin, which means it's still okay for making all the clothes, but it just really brings out the colour in the artwork. You could also just use plain old printer paper. I've done that plenty of times. When it comes to printing and print settings, the files are designed for A4 paper, but if you don't have A4 paper, for example, perhaps you're in the US and letter size is more common for you, that's fine. Just make sure that you print everything at the same size in your printing program of choice. When it comes to cutting out all of the dolls and the clothes, there are various different tools you can use. I've got a kind of Stanley knife, I've got a scalpel, I have this like fancy scalpel that rotates as you go, or you could use scissors. And this is my cat Malkin. Hi Malkin! Also, if you don't have a cutting board like mine, you can just use old cardboard, so don't worry about that. I suggest as a first step you mount the characters, the figures, on thicker card. It works best if they're like a bit thicker than the clothes. And to save you having to cut everything out twice and to make things neater, I suggest mounting them on cardboard before you cut round them really neatly. So what I'm doing here is cutting out really roughly around Tilda and Mycroft as well, and I'm just going to stick those down on some card. The way I like to do it is to get some scrap paper, like this cream coloured paper here, and just go straight over the whole character. By using the scrap paper, that means I can go over the edge, so it means just everything's going to be really, really firmly stuck down. We're not going to have any little edge bits sticking up. For the clothes, I'm just going to carefully cut around them. A good thing to remember is that you can always cut things out roughly and then go back and neaten it up later. Just cut a little bit more off, but obviously once you've cut something off, you can't stick it back on again. So there's no harm in taking things slowly and carefully. You can see once I've cut it out, that looks pretty neat, especially like on camera, but if I want to make it even more neat, sometimes what I do is go around the edges just with a black felt tip pen. So this is just colouring the edge of the card black, and it just makes it a little bit neater because we have that black outline on the artwork. So it's just hiding any areas where I've cut things out and they look a little bit scraggly. The characters themselves are the trickiest bit to cut out, I think, because we mounted them on card, so it's thicker. I would do that technique of just removing little bits at a time, just chip away at it, chip away at it. Also bear in mind that like stuff like the hands, you could just leave those cut a bit roughly, especially Tilda's hair is really messy and crazy. You could just leave it with like a white rim around it, that would look fine. I decided, no, I'm going to spend absolutely ages chipping away at it, getting it really super neat. But you don't need to do that. That was a bit obsessive. And that's basically it. I fold back the base so that she's standing up. That should be sufficient, but if she seems a bit top heavy, you could weight that base so that she doesn't tip forwards. But I can then have fun dressing her up and putting on all her little outfits. And of course, you can do the other characters too. There's Holmes and Watson and Mycroft. So I hope you have lots of fun making these paper dolls and I don't know, having them as like little ornaments. I think they're a lot of fun. If you fancy yourself to be a fashion designer, you could actually even make your own clothes for them, which could be really fun actually. Please, somebody have fun making like wacky 70s disco clothes for Sherlock Holmes or something. I don't know. Go wild. I give you my permission.